How are you?
All right, hello everyone. Good evening, everyone, and thank you for joining the Inspired SME webinar series tonight. As we all know, tomorrow is a public holiday for most of you, so I would like to congratulate you for taking time off to learn how to expand your business on e-commerce, especially targeting the massive China market. Many SMEs continue to face challenges because of the pandemic, and that is not alien. Even we ourselves faces such challenges. This is especially if you are in the traditional retail sector. So if you're the manufacturer and what you're making is not considered essential items, then the pandemic most probably has wiped out half, if not more, of your business. So, but at the same time, we have all heard of companies that are doing very well in e-commerce. So, we would like today to have this topic, and we have two very special guests with us to actually address the issue of how SMEs in Malaysia can also get into e-commerce and perhaps try to recapture some of the lost ground because of the pandemic. So tonight we have two very special guests. We have Chris Wang. Chris Wang is Head of Business Development for Tmall Global Southeast Asia, part of the Alibaba Group. And we have Suriye Rubhen, who is the Chief Operating Officer of Lazada Malaysia. Everybody knows what Lazada is, but I'll let Shah explain a bit more about what Lazada do and how you can perhaps start off your e-commerce journey via Lazada. So today we'll talk about how Malaysian SMEs can export to China and at the same time to source products efficiently from China via China and Malaysia's largest e-commerce platforms, namely the Alibaba Group as well as Lazada. So we'll start by having Chris talk a bit more about Tmall, what you do, and how can SMEs in Malaysia benefit from using Tmall. Chris.
Hi, everyone. Thanks, William, for your introduction. It's really exciting and my honor to be able to, to join this webinar. Excuse me. I work at Alibaba Group and represent Tmall Global for its Southeast Asia business team. We work closely with all of our partners and also our sister company, Lazada, in Malaysia to help the local brands not only digitize their business online locally, as well as through our other ventures in Southeast Asia to other 5 markets that we cover by Lazada. And eventually we also will help them to enter the massive Chinese market through Tmall Global's cross-border e-commerce solutions. So there are quite a few named brands, including Old Town Coffee, including Safi, who just joined us this June to join the mid-year promotion campaign. So it's really excited to be able to speak to everyone, and I would like to introduce more once Shah be able to also cover the Lazada part. Yeah.
Okay, so for many of us in Malaysia, of course, we know that Tmall is part of the Alibaba. Perhaps, Chris, we want to understand a bit more about, the difference between Alibaba as a website, and then you have AliExpress, and then you have Tmall, and then you have Taobao, and then you have Tmall. So where does Tmall fall into this entire infrastructure?
Great question. Actually, if you look 20 plus years back, when Jack Ma started Alibaba.com, which was primarily a B2B e-commerce platform who helps the small and medium-sized companies to import and export globally. I think that was the first BU of the Alibaba Group. And then it incubated all the other commerce businesses, including the Taobao marketplace, which is the C2C platform. And then there's Tmall.com, which is the B2C marketplace, something similar to Lazmall. And then we have Tmall Global, who primarily focus on the international brands who don't have any presence, who don't have any operational teams yet in China to operate from their original markets, original country, to do cross-border business. So that's the key e-commerce business of Alibaba Group. And you did mention about AliExpress, which is actually something a little bit similar to Tmall Global, but on the reverse side. So it helps Chinese SMEs mainly to export through a B2C cross-border e-commerce to all the other countries and markets in the world.
All right, thanks for the introduction, Chris, to Tmall. Now, of course, we now have Shah talk a bit about Lazada. We all know what Lazada is, so perhaps Shah can see how can SMEs actually join the Lazada as perhaps a merchant to start their e-commerce journey. Shah.
Thanks, William. Thanks for that insightful introduction. A further introduction about myself. I'm Shah. I've been in Lazada since 2012, since the establishment of Lazada itself for 8 years now. So a bit of background on Lazada. I'm sure most of the viewers here know Lazada, but to give a bit more insights here, number one, as you guys know, that we're a one-stop shop and a selling platform. We basically ride on end-to-end ecosystem. In terms of infrastructure, we're basically based in all 6 countries: Singapore, Indonesia, Malaysia, Vietnam, Thailand, and the Philippines, having our regional HQ, particularly in Singapore. In terms of when we talk about the journey of Lazada since 2018, just to give a little bit of factoid here, the platform have been facing a very good, healthy growth. We were achieving more than 100% growth year on year since December 2018. In terms of so in terms of a high number of active consumers, we had a significant growth since August 2019 up to January 2020, over 60 million active consumers in Southeast Asia alone. So as you can tell, that the platform is growing, and obviously we surely foresee that this will grow further, because as you see, a lot of perception on how we need to run our businesses is changed, especially due to the unfortunate situation of COVID. The urgency on digitizing businesses become more and more important, and it's becoming a survival matter at this moment. So I think the behavior of entrepreneurs starts to change, and also the behavior of consumers also start to change, where a lot of non-usual online shoppers become usual now, so which is a good bandwagon to ride on for all SMEs. As Chris was mentioning about Tmall earlier, and the program about Sell to China, and the collaboration that we conjure up between Lazada and Tmall Global, I think this is a very huge opportunity for the local SMEs to introduce their businesses across the border. In this specific work stream in particular, it's when we talk about Tmall, we talk about Lazmall, we're basically talking about brands, right? This can come up from international brands or local made brands as well. When you talk about Lazmall and Lazada, we are very serious about how we operate Lazmall on the platform. When I say that, I mean that we strive to achieve, when someone shops on Lazmall, they should face the highest quality online shopping experience in all over the platform, right? And in terms, so when we talk about Lazmall, then we start to conjure up 3 main unique selling points when customer come to Lazada and buy. Number one, 100% authentic. Number 2, we do next day delivery. And number 3, we guarantee 15 days return. So this is the offering we abide by to our customers when it comes to Lazmall. And William's question on understanding how to, or what would be the parameters or criteria to be enrolled in Lazmall. So to that question, I think it's just easy to remember 2 things. There's 2 ways to host your store in last mall.
So Shah's line not so stable, Shah. We will just wait for a while. If Shah doesn't come back, then we'll continue asking questions to Chris. So just to distinguish the difference, right, Chris? Lazada,
Sure.
Lazada and Lastmall is the difference between Taobao and Tmall, correct? Meaning that both platforms are branded shops.
Yes, I think it's something very close to that understanding. I would say not exactly like 100% the same, but I think it's very close.
Right.
I think Shah is back online.
Understood. Shah,
Sorry,
we lost you at the part where you were saying what SMEs need to actually be part of Lastmall.
Okay, sorry about that. I think my internet's a little bit shaky today, but okay, yeah. So yeah, to be part of Lastmall, there's two ways to host your store on Lastmall. The first way is to be the Lastmall certified store. This means you are a retailer's or distributor's authorized brand principal to open a single brand store. The other one would be a Lastmall flagship store. That would mean you are the brand principal of the store. So with this, you have certain eligibility, right? So when we talk about Lastmall flagship store, which is where you are the brand principal of the store, the eligibility comes from registered brand trademark, authorization from a brand principal, and a strong offline presence. When you talk about a Lastmall certified store, it's basically an authorization letter by the brand principal, and you're the distributor. And you don't need registered brand trademark for this, as you already have a letter from your brand principal, and you may have limited offline presence. That's fine. I think in terms of the assortment criteria, this is where I emphasize quite heavily. We only host 100% authentic branded products and assortment, no OEM products, and it is always compliant to all local regulations, right? I think the other component of Lastmall, which I mentioned earlier, was about the shopping experience, right? And the way we try to quality control shopping experience for customers that shop on Lazada is very important. And there is a few ways that we work with our Lastmall sellers to do this. I think in terms of preparing them, Lastmall sellers or to be Lastmall sellers should remember three things, right? How you build the team, what you do in terms of the space you have, and how you utilize the tools. When I say team, I'm talking about a dedicated team to really make sure everything is on track in terms of how you do your promotions, how you do your operations, your fulfillment, drive your team via KPIs and etc. Right, your usual stuff. And in terms of space, it's the staple inventory SOPs that you abide by, and how you try to avoid building backlogs so that you don't delay your customer's order as you are offering a USP of a next day delivery. So this is important. And utilizing tools, right? So updating your inventory on Lazada shop, plan your packing, and always be aware about the trainings that are available to you on the platform. For example, in Lazada, we have operation called Lazada University, where we constantly train sellers on specific topics, how to run their business, whether it's on Lastmall or marketplace, right? I think to summarize a little bit on Lastmall specifically, essentially the seller should be ready to offer a 15 days return policy, authenticity of their assortment, a really good operational performance, a very good performance in campaign participation and tool usage, and timely fulfillment with their logistics partners. So I think having said that, we do have a couple of success stories, such as Safi, who recently pushed into the China market and was quite successful. Now they are having over 56,000 followers in Indonesia.
Wow.
And has become one of the fastest growing source of sales in the company and in the country as well. Yeah. So that's a quick brief on Lazada, William.
So a bit of hand holding here needed. So let's say this is an SME. We've established store operation. Say they got 20 outlets across Malaysia. but they have never
Yeah.
done e-commerce before, ever, right? So everything is just a brick and mortar. So now they say, okay, I want to establish a store in either Tmall or Lazada. What would be the best step? Should they enroll as a regular Lazada seller, or should they go straight and speak to you and say, oh, can I have a store on Lazada and guide us how to set it up? What would be your suggestion?
So my suggestion would be it depends, right? So what is your relationship with your brand principal, right? So for example, if you're not the official distributor, or you're just a reseller or whatnot, then you start with marketplace, which is not last mall, but you start on the platform. But this is a very important step, because this, as you said, this person has never done online before, right? But this
Right.
step is very critical, because this is your first step in your journey to digitize your business. When you run this course in your journey and you do marketplace on Lazada, that's why you learn how you operate the fundamentals of an online store. How do you chat with your online customers? What is the expectations, right? Interestingly, also you would learn from other businesses that listing on Lazada as well, how they position their promotions, and it's something, a few learnings that any SMEs can take, right? In terms of SME that already have a leverage or relationship with their brands, as they have become official distributor, or they are also already a brand principal for their own brand, this is where they can jump directly into Last Mall. And to open a store in Last Mall or in Marketplace, there is not much difference at all. The only difference is the expectation of your store from Last Mall would be much higher, and your preparation should be much more better in terms of your daily operations of your store.
Okay, understood. So let's say now an SME is interested, to I'm talking about brand owner. So you're the brand owner. So you have certain brand, either you may have OEM them, whatever not, but you own the brand, right? So you now want to sell in China and via Tmall. So of course, the easy way is to contact Tmall or contact Last Mall and say, oh, can we have an account manager, inform us, servicing us, and so on. So that part we understand, right? And we'll come back to that to ask you questions like how much it will cost and so on. We'll come back on that. But before that, what should SME owners, brand owners do to prepare themselves before they even consider going into the China market, before they even consider listing into Tmall? What should they prepare for? Please, yeah.
Thanks, William. I think from my experience, I have been on the B2B side, which was Alibaba.com, and I've also been on the B2C side right now with Tmall Global. So I want to first, separate the relatively established large brands and the SME owned brands. So if you're well-known and well-established brands like Safi, I think definitely even though even if you don't have much e-commerce experience, but you do have enough capital investment, you do have enough talents on your team, or you can hire enough talents to your team to be prepared to enter a new market. I think definitely working with us and working with Lazada first, maybe I think at least to get some more exposure and experience from the local market, then jump to China. I think that would be the best approach for the larger, relatively larger brands. But if you're talking about specifically for the SME brands, I mean they're already maybe 10, 20 years old, but their scale is still relatively smaller and limited exposure in the public. I think these brands, there are two steps they can take. First, I would say also try the B2B services from Alibaba as well. I think that's something that has a much lower operational requirements in terms of experience and investment. It's mainly driven by the B2B demand from over 190 countries and regions. I think that will give you the enough basic experience and also the exposures that you will need to enter a new market and also to enter the direct B2C market, because when you are facing the consumers, the types of challenges and questions, logistics questions you will face will be multiple than times than the B2B world. So that's the suggestion I would give the SME brands. Yeah.
Okay, I understand that. So I mean, let's take Safi an example. So you say Safi has been successful. selling in China. So it's very clear, of course, Safi operations is mostly limited to Malaysia. They manufactured here, the distributors are here, the logistic operations are here, the factory possibly is here. So now they open a shop in Tmall. Then the concern is issues like, besides the challenges of going in and the listing fee and whatnot, what about logistics, fulfillment, customer service, all these areas? Would they need to scale from their own, or would Tmall be able to help them in those areas?
That's a very good question. So we launched our EWTB hub, which is the TFTZ zone in Malaysia already, in Kuala Lumpur, a couple of years ago. I think it has also led us to build enough logistics infrastructure in Malaysia to support the Malaysia sellers and brands to have a peace of mind if they want to sell to China. So what we've done with Safi very successfully is we've actually sent our logistics partners to pick up the goods from their factory and take them through our logistics networks and clear the customs for them from Malaysia, and then take them into the bonded warehouse in Guangzhou, China. So the whole journey is actually pretty much taken care by our logistics partners in the Tmall networks. So that gives them a very good service, relatively very competitively low cost on the logistics side. And most importantly, the whole journey is trackable by our digital solutions. So you can know exactly where your goods being picked up, where it gets stopped, when it gets the clearance on from the custom, and eventually which warehouse code they actually be allocated to your products. So eventually, once a consumer from China places an order for a Safi product, it will get shipped directly from the bonded warehouse. Then it will then again clear the clear the Chinese customs under the cross-border e-commerce law of China, one by one, order by order, but still very efficiently under 24 hours. So that will give the consumer a very good experience that they know they're buying something authentic and something that's made in Malaysia, but it's just pre-shipped into a bonded warehouse in China. And they will save that time, last mile delivery time from, if you do one drop ship order by order from Malaysia to China, it probably take you anywhere between 10 to 15 days.
Right.
But through our solution, since we already ship them into bonded warehouse, and all of our ERP system, our order system is connected with the customs in that warehouse. So most of our lead time in China will be limited under 4 days nationwide. So it's actually a very fast delivery here in China in terms of the logistics infrastructure. So.
Yeah, that's very reassuring, because for a lot of SMEs, of course, the biggest concern is not so much, whether they want to sell to the China market, but all these little headaches, like you say, the logistic, the fulfillment, the customer service, what happened to the returns, the refunds, payment, and so on. So great to hear that. Of course, these are part of the Tmall infrastructure. So the important thing is actually to ensure that you have the suitability, the resources to actually open a shop in Tmall, and then subsequently most of the work can actually be done within the Tmall infrastructure, if I got it right, Chris.
Exactly.
Right. So then the next question obviously is, now they make it sound a lot easier to actually sell in China, because before that a lot of people say, it's very tough. You must find partner there, and the partner must take X number of container from you, and you're supposed to deliver, and that is very traditional. So I understand now this is very useful. So the next question is, what kind of product can we sell in China? Would it be anything, or any specific category you feel that would do well in China?
Very interesting question. So as Chinese middle class continue to grow, and the diversity of different demographic of consumers are also becoming more and more specific to different kinds of imported goods. We actually cover more than 5,000 different categories on our Tmall Global platform, and we work directly with more than 25,000 brands from over 98 countries and regions from the world. So almost you can think that anything can sell on Tmall or Tmall Global. But more specifically, of course, because of the cross-border e-commerce law of China, give the FMCG products to be more, specific to the beauty, healthcare, personal care products. They are actually exempt from getting the China FDA certificate to do business through cross-border B2C e-commerce on Tmall Global. So it's under the government's governance. It's totally legal, but you don't have to go through the long journey of getting the CFDA certificate. You actually just need to submit your product's original certificate from Malaysia, for example, or any country, as well as the ingredients of your products, so what it's made of or made from. And the customs, we will help you to process that with the customer. The customer will typically give you a feedback within 2 to 3 weeks to say yes or no. And there's a very long whitelist products, and most of the whitelisted products can be easily approved to sell through the cross-border e-commerce. So that being said, definitely FMCG products are the high demand products, and there are other products are also popular.
Musang King
from Malaysia.
What about Musang King? Yeah. Musang King. What about our Musang King in China? Is it still in demand? Our durian.
That durian is durian. It's right. super popular, but that's more. I would say that's on the fresh produced side. That's even on the frozen durian side. It's still mainly driven on the offline market. On the online market, it requires extra care of those products being shipped through its boxes, because you need the whole cold chain supply chain delivery system, and which gives it extra logistics fees cost. So when you compare online offline, it's actually still more competitive to buy most of those products offline. I say fresh produce, fresh durian. Right. If it's durian cakes, for example, if it's durian
chips,
candies, durian candies that I used to buy from KL, these products are super popular on Tmall Global. So dried fruits, durian produces candies, cakes, chocolates, and also coffee, white coffee from Malaysia, and Old Town coffee, Papa Rich, I think it was Papa Rich, right? Coffee, these are very popular, and bird nest, bird nest is also popular from Malaysia. So I think from different country, the supplies perspective, that it varies from country to country, but the overall FMCG is super popular. And another category I do have to mention is actually fashion. I think. So Chinese consumers, especially the middle class, from the tier 1 and tier 2 cities, they have a very fast growing appetite for international brands, fashion brands. So they would like to have different choices of some of those luxury brands. Some of those are not really luxury, but in the mid-tier price points brands. I think we've also looked at quite a few brands from Malaysia as well, and we're in discussion with some of those very, very well designed brands that are already popular on the social media channels in China. So it's a very interesting thing that we see.
Yeah, it's interesting to know that we are not just exporting our singers to China, but also our fashion brands or something new. Shah, I promise I'll come back to you after this, but I got one last question to Chris before I shoot some questions to you. So Chris, you have been dealing with so many Malaysian brands and other country brands going to Tmall over the years, right? So what are the most common challenges or the most common problems that potential merchants or brand owners face either in onboarding in Tmall and or through their experience in Tmall itself? What are the most common challenges that they find?
I think if you, I don't know if it's just one challenge or a few challenges, but I'll try to summarize as much as I can. I think one of the first challenges that the local brand owners and sellers will typically face is actually how to manage the daily operations of their shop, of their store on Tmall Global, which the onboarding part is being handheld by our team and our service team. So there's not much challenge in that perspective. But once you onboard on the platform, I would say a little bit. Unfortunately, the whole platform is very designed towards the Chinese consumers, demand. So how it works, what should be used to promote. So the whole understanding of the e-commerce ecosystem is totally different from that of Malaysia or most of the other markets. So how to manage this daily work? You will need to drive external traffic. You will need to drive social media awareness. You need to manage your customer care. You need to manage your daily routines on the storefront. But every topic that I just mentioned is actually somewhat different from your past experience in Singapore or maybe Malaysia. So that is already a challenge to a lot of the brand principles. So having a good partner in China to work with you, be able to communicate these types of difference, because some of our certified service partners, which you call enablers in Malaysia, some of those enablers, they actually work with all kinds of brands from different industries, from different countries. They know how to give you the quickest, the fastest cheat sheet, right? Your checklist that you need to understand. Oh, these are the difference. These are the things that we definitely agree first, so that we can move smooth and fast in the next phase, right? So that's one of the challenges a lot of them face. I think the second thing that I would say I see a lot of them face is that when they try to create their awareness in China, or then when they try to do their business planning and sales forecast for the next 12 to 18 months, a lot of our brand owners don't have enough information inputs and know-hows of the Chinese market. It's a 1.4 billion population market, but it's being divided into so many different cities and so many different demographics. So the demand nationwide also could vary a lot from place to place. Luckily, like this is like one language, and even though we have different dialects, you have Cantonese, you have Shanghainese, but everyone speaks Mandarin in the country, right? So it's easy to create a single content that can be pushed nationwide. But how to do that is something I think a lot of the brands did not face before, because you're creating something that can be seen by 1.4 billion people. So the cost of the ROI, then the content design and everything is also very different. So some of our brands had the somewhat inaccurate perception of Tmall is that once you get Tmall, it sells itself. We do have over 850 millions of monthly active users, but they are also being flooded with tons of millions of products every day. So how to stand out and how to be shown on the first or second page of the search results, really these are a lot of work behind it.
Right, understood. So a lot of people actually think of China as a country, and as you have pointed correctly, China is more than just a country; it's almost a continent on its own, of various different, one nationality, but various culture in a sense within one country. And as you also pointed out, for people, especially those who are new to e-commerce, other than talking to Tmall, there's also opportunity to reach out to Tmall partners, either in Malaysia or even in China. They can actually provide you those missing link that you may have, things like translation, things like understand the culture, what product to sell, or even do up other marketing to actually push traffic to your website. I'm not sure whether that is correct to summarize what you have said just now, Chris.
Yes, I think, yeah.
Right. So Shah, as I promised, so next question is for you. So a lot of SMEs, they say, we don't want to go straight to China because we're not sure. Again, you mentioned our cultural challenges. You want to ensure that, look, we have our basics right. We make sure that our products can go into the market in terms of e-commerce. So they would want to start with Lazada first. What programs do you have right now in Lazada and or Mall that help to onboard SMEs quickly, painlessly? What do they do?
So just like I think the part where Chris said, right, where you have over 850 million active users on Tmall, and being promoted over millions of tons of product, and how do you stand out? And the way to stand out is there's a lot of work behind it, and I cannot echo this any further, which is because this is really true, right? If I think the competition is similar in the Lazada platform as well. That's why I think in Lazada, we have sort of what we call an incubation period of any SMEs that come on Lazada or Mall in the beginning. We will basically handhold them for the first 3 months, right? So number one, signing up on Lazada is quite seamless. You can self-sign up. You don't have to call anyone. It's the portal's already there. You go to the website, you go to the app, you can sign up as a Mall seller or Lazada marketplace seller. And then as you join the platform, we have sort of an incubation team that sort of brings you or hold your hand towards the first 3 months of your journey. And what this entails is basically, number one, how do you start listing your products? I think one of the most famous rules of e-commerce is assortment is king. You start only growing as you grow your assortment, right? What's the basics of listing your products, and then number two, how you start using the tools or leverage the tools of the platform. So when I say tools, it's basically tools that allow you to position your promotions of your assortment in different ways, via voucher, via buy two, buy three, free one sort of flexi combo, this sort of stuff, right? Number three is basically how you, because a retail physical store actually is not so much different from an online store. When I say that, mean that if you are in a mall and you open a physical store, you would do your best to make the store look good so that people walk in, right? The attractiveness should be there, right? It actually is no different from an online store. So when I say it's no different from an online store, is you need to decorate your store online properly. You need to decorate your product, show the right promos, show the best pictures in order to attract sort of the validity of your product towards your customer, right? So this is the same online as well. This is the three main fundamental things that will bring you through, right? That the incubation team will bring you through, and we actually kind of amplified this whole process further during the COVID situation, right? So as you know, during the COVID situation, economy was in a bit of a downturn, and governments were trying to introduce stimulus packages to help citizens and SMEs, right? So Lazada kind of got a bit inspired by it, and we did launch our own stimulus package that basically promotes a zero capital cost to SMEs that want to come on board or come online, and what kind of subsidy that we provide to the SMEs to help accelerate their business in the beginning, so that they get the traction and then they start looking at sales and they start getting the hang of it, and then start thinking about how they can grow the business further.
Right. Thanks, Shah. So for those of you who are listening, if you have any question at all for Chris or for Shah on any issue, not necessarily just on Tmall or Lazada, but also on e-commerce in general, feel free to ask the questions in the chat box so that we can try and get Chris and Shah to actually answer them. We already have a few questions which we'll address to both Shah and Chris in a while. But as Shah has mentioned, it makes a lot of sense because we see that, let's say there are two, and this is something that I my own experience recently, we go in and I've got friends who actually operate fitness equipment, and both of them sell on Lazada, Mall. And we can see that both brands are very strong, and yet one brand will say that, oh, Lazada is now 40-50% of all my business. Very happy about it because you don't have to hire a salesperson, you don't have to hire people to demo and so on, in itself, sell on its own on Mall. But we also have another brand owner, also a fitness equipment, who said, look, they're having trouble actually getting people to come and buy from them. They say a lot of effort. And then there's also issue of fulfillment and issue of complaints. People say, look, all these other issues, and it's hurting their brand. So we have a very divergent view from actual online sellers among SMEs. So we'll come back to you in a while, Shah, on how to minimize minimize the chance of failure in an online platform like this, and how to enhance the possibility of you doing well in either Lazada and Tmall. But now we'll go in and address some of the questions that has been asked. Hallie asked, can we search Tmall in English? How can Malaysians overcome the language barrier in China? So this is Safi is a good example, right? Because there's obviously a Malay brand. So how do somebody, who may not speak a single word of Chinese want to go into Tmall and be successful in Tmall? Chris. You're on mute. You're on mute, Chris. You're on mute.
Yeah, I have to say that it would be a little bit challenge that if you just want to have a pure English version of Tmall that can be used and searched for everyone who speaks English and don't speak Chinese. I always say that unfortunately it's the Tmall website is totally designed just for Chinese consumers to come to buy products either domestically or through cross-border e-com, right? So that's the business model of
Right.
the Tmall itself. So it's hard to say that how to overcome how to search the Tmall products in English, but how to overcome the language barrier. I think most of our international brands and sellers, what they do is they work with a Chinese enabler. So the enabler will help you. We have Japanese brands, we have German brands, we have brands from all over the world. So they always try to work with an enabler, powerful enabler certified by Alibaba Group, by Tmall, to service them, to take care of their business. But you can still own the store. It's still under your own foreign entity, overseas entity from China. So you transfer your currencies back to your own account in Malaysia, for example. So these are still very convenient to the international sellers. So that's the difference between a conventional trade and or the domestic B2C compared to the cross-border B2C.
So if you're confident, you can go in on your own. But if you're not so confident, or rather to be safer, it is best to actually work with a local enabler who can then actually guide you through the entire journey, tell you what kind of product range you can sell, how much you'll be selling at, whether this is something that the Chinese consumer would understand and want to buy. So in short, an agent or the local partner to actually help speed up your journey.
Yes, right? And we do have Malaysian sellers who are actually managing everything from KL by themselves. I mean, though, yes, they do have hired Chinese-speaking staff to help them to manage some of the communications with the Chinese consumers or the people from our offices to on campaigns, for example. So we do have these examples, but most of the brands tend to choose a local enabler to help them to manage the day-to-day work.
Right, that makes a lot of sense. We have a next question by Colleen, I think Colino. I'm not sure whether I'm reading the word wrongly. So there's a few questions. I think we direct this to Shah. I think these are questions that I wanted to ask earlier, Shah and Chris, which is, of course, all SMEs will ask how much it will cost to actually have a store in Last Mall and also in Tmall. So the range, I suppose, or the from what price onwards. So that's the first question: how much it will cost to be in this ecosystem? And secondly, what does that price include? So I'm just paraphrasing Kalino here. What does that price that you charge include? And how long you think that, after they agree and you agree, right? Because you also have to agree to take on this brand, and the brand owner agree to go on board and agree to the fee. How long it takes between signing on that agreement to actually having products sold on Tmall and Last Mall. So who would take this, Shah or Chris?
Maybe I'll take this first, and then I'll pass it over to Chris for the Tmall side. Really quickly.
Yep, sure.
So I see Kalino's question over here. Basically, the first part of the question is, what is the package for small business to set up a marketplace in Lazada? So I think Lazada Marketplace is absolutely free to set up your store. There's no charges whatsoever. If you join and you start selling, even the shipping fee you are not paying, your customers are paying. The shipping fee is 100%, what we like to call it, 100% crossed over to the customer, right? You can choose to add a promotion where you give free shipping to your customer, and that's up to you on how you want to set up your promotion, right? On the second part of the question is, does this package include having a dedicated consultant for onboarding and guiding owners to start online? So good question. So for both Lazada and Marketplace, right? Whichever seller that come online, any new seller will be guided via two different ways. Number one, we will also digitally guide the sellers and owners via our portal on what you need to start. It's basically like we call it a growth center. You start with this, and then you move on to the second one, and the third thing, and the fourth thing, which ultimately will position you as a proper e-commerce operator, right? So it is quite intuitive, this journey. Also, the second part, in parallel, we have incubation agents, we would like to call it, that will reach out to seller to tell seller, have you tried this tool? There's a campaign coming this week. Please join this campaign. This is how you join the campaign. This campaign is about selling X products, FMCG products. If you have these products within this price, please join. There'll be a lot of traffic driven to this campaign. So this is sort of the information that will kind of flow through these agents via digital and via these agents towards new sellers, right? We also, within Lazada, create a platform for new sellers where we call it New Seller Campaign, where we have campaigns for new sellers to join, and we drive traffic from consumers to come and look at those products, and eventually they purchase it, right? Going back to packages, right? Like I said, Lazada Marketplace is absolutely free. As Laz Mall, it is a specific commission charge, which is very low. And that commission charge entails actually a lot of things, right? Because how we position Laz Mall in Lazada basically entails a lot of traffic being driven to this business. So whoever comes to Laz Mall generally have more traffic than Lazada Marketplace, basically. On the third part of the question was, how long would it take to list their products, right? Yeah, correct.
Right.
Or sell their products. I think basically 5 minutes. The moment you open your store, if you're very fast in the keyboard, maybe 30 seconds, you can already list your product. So there is basically no blocker for you to not sell the next 2 minutes the moment you open up your store. So that's to just make it clear over there. Will there be any marketing support provided by small businesses, new joiners? So like I mentioned earlier, we do have a special dedicated campaign for new sellers that come in, both Laz Mall and Lazada Marketplace. We have agents that do contact the sellers to guide them in how to use the tools and to build awareness of campaigns that are coming up, basically. Yeah.
So there's no reason.
Yeah.
Yeah. So there's no reason why an SME should not, even if you're not serious about going fully on e-commerce, there's no reason why you should not at least experiment by opening or joining the marketplace to try it out, right? And if it works for you, then you scale up and you scale up, right? So nothing beats trying out on your own. Right?
Actually, I even recommend to do a hybrid model. If you already have a physical store, I'm not saying close to physical store and start online, right? Go hybrid, try to run both concurrently. You'll understand the challenges. Then you also understand the advantages as well. Then you know eventually how to manage. Same for any entrepreneur out there.
Right. I think for a lot of SMEs, of course, they are fully aware that e-commerce is the way forward, but it's a lot of fear, a lot of crossing that barrier and just doing it. So like the famous brand, right? Just do it slogan, right? So I think that would probably help to speed people up. So is that different from Tmall? What does it take, Chris, to get into Tmall in terms of resources needed, in terms of fees that they pay? Is there a listing fee or a store opening fee?
Yeah, I do want to maybe take the first question out first. I think the overall e-commerce atmosphere here and the stage that has been developed to, I think it's a bit more mature here. So in terms of the listing fees, that we do charge a minimum of about around sub 10,000 US dollars of annual fee, as well as the similar amount of security deposit. And the security deposit is mainly for us to use if the seller failed to meet the customer's expectation that you committed to the customer, and you also refuse to resolve the issue, then we'll probably use some of those funds to try to resolve some of those product defect issues or other cases. So simply put, it's around 20,000 US dollars for the first year sign up with Tmall Global. But as I said, we work relatively with medium to larger brands, so it's actually to them mostly it's not a very huge cost. But even for SME brands, I think if you think about opening a store anywhere, a physical store anywhere, it's probably the similar cost in KL2 to for the first year to run your store. So I wouldn't say that's a big cost or additional cost to anyone. And we do have the onboarding service team to handholding the sellers and the merchants to onboard through the journey. And typically we will finish that within 2 to 4 weeks. We can do that as quickly as 2 weeks, because if you're working, if you have already signed up with the enabler, and the enabler knows all the to-do lists, it will actually be a very fast onboarding process. Unfortunately, it doesn't really support the English version of self-onboarding. So again, it's quite Chinese-oriented from that perspective. We do provide similar, support to new sellers. So we have different campaigns and different slots in different mega campaigns to support the new sellers to grow their business. So that's something very similar to Lazada, and we are also learning from each other from our experiences too. Yeah.
So you make money by charging a store opening fee, right? So and then you also charges a commission from every sale made, correct?
Correct. I think I forgot to mention that we charge about 2 to 4% of commission on the actual order value. So it's post-discount value that you based on your total GMV on a monthly basis or weekly basis. So that's our commission charges. Yeah.
So that's not unlike listing in a local supermarket. Say you're a skincare brand like Safi and you want to list into a local supermarket. You have to first pay a listing fee, so X amount, and that is per outlet. So if let's say the supermarket has 100 store, you will end up say paying 500 ringgit per supermarket times 100 store. So it's not different from that. And even then, the supermarket will charge you a commission or a margin to actually sell it in their supermarket. But do you have the same problem? Because like in supermarket, right? So you have put in the product, you have paid the listing fee, and you start selling, and then your product don't sell. Example. Then there's a chance of the supermarkets delisting you. They say, look, because you're not selling well and we depend on your commission to survive, we will now delist you. Can that happen in Tmall and Last Mall as well?
Maybe I'll take this one first. We don't like proactively or actively delisting brands unless the brands wanted to leave the platform for any other reasons. But unless there are significant, SLA, issue from the seller and they could not really deliver on time or take the customers, service calls or their chats messages, and if they totally failed on all measures, we will probably also try to work with them for a period of improvement time. But if they continue to work with the consumers, we will have some requirements to delist this type of sellers, but we don't really value them based on their certain period of performance. I think we value all the brands and sellers on our platforms, and since we're an e-commerce platform, it's actually the cost of holding one additional store or seller is much lower than the cost of actually running a brick and mortar supermarket. So I think that's the fundamental difference between e-com and the traditional model. Yeah.
So your investment is safe in a sense that as long as you pay the money, you're gonna stay there. As long as you don't breach, you don't sell fake products, you don't get in trouble with consumers.
You fail to satisfy your own consumer, you get too much complaints. I think that's a different argument.
That's fair enough. Yeah, that's fair enough. We do have a question from Mei Ching on live streaming, and I will come back to that in a short while. So then there's this issue of, it's a bit sensitive, Chris, but there's this issue, and also for Shah, there's this issue of counterfeiting and IP rights. A lot of sellers are very wary of listing their products in a different country, especially in China, because they are afraid that, look, if the products do well, especially in a public platform like Tmall, it encourages local manufacturer to quickly duplicate the same product and then sell it either in Tmall itself or also or in other e-commerce platform. What can you do to actually assure the SMEs that their brand is protected, especially in China, Chris?
Chris, take first, or do you want me to take for last long?
I'll go first. Maybe I think I do have some experience too to understand more deeply on the IP protection part on the Alibaba Group. We actually have more than 1,000 full-time staff working under the group to work very closely with different brands and organizations and internal teams as well, and our sellers to make sure that the IP rights are protected by each seller and brand. So as long as your brands your logos and everything are registered within our system, we will have different technologies, AI technologies, to make sure that the especially the individual sellers, what we call the Taobao sellers, if they want to list something that is not supposed to be sold by them and they're not authorized to sell by them, you cannot, the products cannot be listed. So simply, we will block them from the very beginning. Even if they find any loophole in the system or any other workaround way to list the products, we will still have different ways to delist those products by AI, by automated system tools, as well as by manual editing as well. So we put a lot of efforts. We actually delist. I think I can't remember the exact number, but it's definitely maybe even millions of links that who wants to be posted on Taobao or Tmall marketplaces. So we don't want to show them to our consumers anything.
So would it be safe then to say that going to Tmall is not just about selling your product? So on top of that, if you list yourself as a Tmall shop, there's a higher chance that other sellers using your brand will then be removed, because now Alibaba Group, now Tmall is aware of your brand as a rightful brand owner within Tmall. So all the other people who try would have a harder chance to actually sell within the Alibaba Group. Would that be correct?
It's not exactly accurate, but I would try to correct that a little bit. So when you have the authorization or proof of authenticity of the products, you're still allowed to upload the products, still allowed to list the products. But if you want to purposely sell anything that's fake, we have all means to be able to find out those products and links and then remove them from the marketplace.
So the moment you type ROLE space X, your listing will be removed, right?
All right. It's something similar to your example. Yeah.
Okay. So is that the same with? I assume it's the same platform and same technology behind that AI with Lazada, correct, Shah?
Pretty much so. First of all, what we like to call this team that manages this is the business risk team, right? And they are also very centralized in the region, and they all have this very same strict SOPs across all 6 countries when it comes to infringement and counterfeit. And I can tell you that the team and the platform is very prompt and swift in delisting counterfeits or IP issues, and especially when it comes to Lazada, because we are hell bent on protecting our brand owners. So, like Chris mentioned, it's almost the same practice locally as well.
All right. Thanks, Shah. Hi, Fionn. Thanks for coming by. We already answered the question, Chris, earlier. You can scroll back later in the video. Chris actually addressed the issue of what are the best-selling Malaysian items on Tmall. I've asked the question. He has already answered that. So we will now take the question from Mei Ching on live streaming. As we know, last year, in China alone, I think live streaming sold 400 billion yuan, if I remember the statistics correctly. So that's about 250 billion ringgit. That's crazy, right? There's live streaming. Somebody, I remember when I was young, we go to this morning market and you have this uncle, auntie taking a mic and then start selling products, right? Health, medicine, and whatever not. And the most they can do is probably 30, 40 ringgit a day. Now we're talking about 250 million ringgit, a billion ringgit in a year. So that's amazing. So will this culture, or rather, can Malaysian brand owners use this new trick to actually expand their store and sell their products better, either in Tmall or on Lastmall? Maybe Chris, take this first.
I think you actually gave a great hint on that. I think it's actually, from my perspective, it's not about will that culture be brought over to Malaysia or it does Chinese brands or companies or Alibaba, Lazada wants to bring that culture to Malaysia or not. I think it's more from a consumer's perspective, will the Chinese Malaysian consumers welcome this type of new way or technology of browsing, shopping, and also entertaining. So I think I'm not very familiar with how the development is for live streaming in Lazada Malaysia right now. I think maybe Shah can answer the later part of the question. Yeah.
Yeah. So I live streaming is a very interesting thing, right? I visited China quite a number of times in the past, specifically visiting live streaming studios, meeting very famous KOLs, and I was quite astounded on what and how big this culture is in China, and how influencers play a big role in what customers would buy, right? So if the first question is, will that culture come to Malaysia? I think it's not if, it's just a matter of when. It will definitely come. And I think the beauty of it is that anybody could do it. You don't need to be a skilled influencer, or you need to be a famous guy. I think it's about you need to have an attractive product. You need to believe in your own product. You have to have a good price, and then you just have to promote it in front of a live stream with a bit of charisma, right? I mean, we like to call this now, what we like to call this in Lazada or whatnot. It's a shop entertainment strategy, where it's go past than just click and buy experience, and now it's going towards engaging and interacting with live streamers and understanding the product more. What else can it do? What else they can inform you that they cannot inform in just a product detail page, for example. Just to share a little bit, so we combined two upcoming trends, which was, number one was fresh produce on an online platform. I think that trend started to come due to COVID, the COVID situation, where customers had no choice to go out and buy. So we at that time, Lazada, planned and established a fresh food supply chain really quickly. So we could already meet fresh vegetables, fresh meat supply as well. At the same time, we did a live streaming on it. So two very new trends we combined together, and it was very successful. In particular, when during our recent 7/7 sale, we collaborate with a local prawn farmer near Selangor on selling fresh, huge tiger prawns. And this person, they themselves were actually running the live stream, and they had close to zero e-commerce experience. And within, let's say, an hour of the session, I think they had over 55,000 viewers looking at the prawns and saying like how cheap and it is, and how big it is, how fresh it is, and how can it be delivered really quickly to you. I think at the end of the day, we sold over half a ton of prawns with that activity, right? And this is just a start, in my opinion. And it was already successful in a new product, something that we never thought that we would sell in the first place, let alone sell half a ton of it, right? So the culture is definitely going to come. That way of shopping is definitely going to come. It's going to grow bigger. I think a big in the near future, a big part of could be a big part of e-commerce success would be how you run your live stream operations as well. So yeah.
Right. So thanks, Shah. So we are coming to the end of the session today. So I hope that we have learned a bit more about doing business on e-commerce, especially cross-border in China. So before we wrap up, let's give both our speaker, Chris Wang from Tmall, as well as Shah Rubhen from Lazada Malaysia, maybe a minute or two to actually sum up any other advice that you have for SMEs who want to go into e-commerce, either in Malaysia cross-border into China. Any last message or tips or suggestions that you may have for them? We shall start with Chris again.
Okay, thanks, William. I think my honest and humble advice to the Malaysian SME community is, especially for the ones who own a brand, a consumer brand who wants to export directly to cross-border B2C to China through Tmall Global. I think I would really suggest you to try to have an experience in the local market first. Work with Lazada or work with your independent website by yourself, however you like it, and try to get some experience and know-hows before you take that to the next phase, which is expanding to the Chinese market, because the efforts needed, the investment needed is probably multiple times larger, even though we don't require a lot of upfront investment, but the ongoing commitment for you to enter a new market is definitely something that you have to be well prepared. So
right.
That's something the way I would advise. And secondly is that you are always welcome to work with us and talk to us about advices, and if you need consultancy, opinions from the business development team or seller care team that from Tmall Global, we are all there to help you to understand more where exactly we are in terms of what's the trendy products, what's the opportunity for the next 5 years. I think there are more insights that we can share if we are able to connect and talk about the specific brands.
Right, thank you very much, Chris. Shah, any last message to our audience?
Yeah, so I think like Chris mentioned, right, there's a lot of opportunities that are opening right now. Thanks to the Tmall, Alibaba team and Chris, now there's an opportunity to expand to the China market now, right? But you can only start in that journey by start to digitize your business first, which is the most important step, let alone your own .com or on Lazada. I think this is something everybody should start right after this session, you see.
Right.
That's how critical it is, I would say. Another thing to emphasize on is a lot of these platforms, let alone Tmall, Lazada, the team and it has a lot of investment behind it to ensure the platform gives what it wants in terms of what the customer wants, what would the customer demand, and it is the most lucrative time to get on the bandwagon here and ride the flow, you see. The other thing is why would it be exciting is because the learning curve here is can be quite amazing, and there's communities built even behind in selling online and doing
Right.
e-commerce, and there's a lot of entrepreneurs that have been doing here even 1 year, maybe more than 5, 6, 7 years, are also still willing to coach new entrepreneurs that just
Sure.
come online, which is a very good thing. Yeah.
So thanks, Shah, and thanks, Chris, for all the excellent advice. So for a lot of SMEs, they're of course going to e-commerce. You have many options. You can always set up your own website, set up your own e-commerce platform, do it by yourself. You don't need to go into marketplaces. But of course, the easier way, of course, is to join a marketplace. It's a cheap, inexpensive way to actually learn how to do it. And once you're ready, scale up. And of course, eventually, if you can, have a shop front within Tmall and Lazada, and that would really help you a lot in expanding your business within Malaysia, within Southeast Asia, and across China. So on behalf of SME Magazine, I'd like to thank Chris Wang from Tmall, as well as Shah Rubhen from Lazada for your time, your generosity in sharing your knowledge, your information about your respective platforms to all the SMEs across the country. For those of you who are interested to know how you can be part of Tmall and Lazada, feel free to just visit their website. I'm sure there's a link somewhere that says, be a partner or be a merchant. Click on that, fill in all the form, and I'm sure one of them will actually reach out to you to help you in your journey towards selling cross-border. All right, thank you, everyone. And
thank you, William. Thank you, Chris.
All right.
Thank you, William, for hosting. Thank you, Shah.
Yeah, thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right.